So this movie consists pretty much. It's gonna start off like this in China, right? One of the kids, he's a good fighter. He does karate and shit, or in Japan, it could be one of them. Maybe a South Korean guy, right? He's all into tech and shit, and he decides to want to do a boxing fight, and that fool comes over here to the United States. And pretty much, I got the idea doing maintenance all the time over there. You know, like Mr. Miyagi, Jackie Chan, and then Halo come around doing maintenance, and like we're just chilling there, like making the knuckles stronger and to be solid and have that punch power and stuff. So say homeboy from South Korea come around over here, and right there where I work, there's multicultures. That's why I talk about like sometimes there's multicultures. I don't know how to like really put it out there that it does. But the South Korean kid, he hops out, he has like fucking techie shit and stuff. He's like, I just came over here from like Kung Fu and karate, and I wanted to go into boxing and fucking have a boxing scrap and like knock someone the fuck out. So he tries to transition, and he gets a job where like the Chinese people and the Japanese people are working here and like in California and stuff. So this guy from over there is seeing fucking the United States, but he ends up going to like a desert area where like motherfuckers is hard. So he's like right there and shit, like just kind of like, walking around like with this like Asian sensation swag and shit. And he ends up like getting in a beef with like some fools and shit. And that fool like fucks him up and shit, like bah, bah, bah. He's like, man, the boxing is gonna be easy over here. So he starts like a cocky like karate kid, right? Then pretty much what ends up happening is that he comes across like a boxer that's alright. And he's like, hey bro, why you pick on my friends and shit? But he doesn't understand the dialect of boxing. And he's like, oh, you came to fight their battle? And they end up fighting and shit. And the fool like gets the better of the boxer dude. And he gets like knocked the fuck out. Bam. And right there's this maintenance dude, kind of like resembles me and shit. But in the United States, this fool's like Mexican and shit. And he's just doing maintenance by himself all the time, just like fucking around like the whole marketplace, like just doing maintenance, right? Like fucking with the leaf blower and shit. And he sees this fool like fuck up the boxer dude and shit, and he's like, damn, that's kind of like, it's because motherfuckers didn't have wrestling and explosion and football tackles and shit. So like, somehow, some way, he ends up fighting like this motherfucker like me from over there, like, right? So he encounters, and I'm just like minding my own business, and he's like, are you one of these cocky motherfuckers? I'm like, hey bro, you best back the fuck up. And I use all my MMA and I beat the dog shit out of him. And then pretty much like, he ends up humbling up, and he's like, I just wanted to do this. I'm like, don't even trip about it. And we get him started prepared for like fucking boxing and shit. And of course, like, there's a bunch of filler during the middle of the movie, but at the very, very end, this fool, like me, I become his friend, like one of his like helpers for like the coach that he ends up coming across, the Karate Kid, right? He ends up learning the beauty of like fucking boxing and all that shit. And at the end, we just help him. He fucking gets better and shit. At the end, like, like I'm helping him a little bit, like out there, like doing some other shit. But like at the end, he ends up fighting like a boxer that's like kind of like relevant, not kind of like get out of jail and get an opportunity type of shit. Like this motherfucker actually like gets up in there, and then they start bombing and shit on each other and stuff. And at the very end, this fool just like bam, bam, boom, and lays him out like in the 11th or something. And we're all like, yeah, like. But the thing is, like, he got humbled and shit, but it takes, like, some other type of shit to, like, come in and just beat the dog shit out of him. The thing that's ironic is, like, the people that came from China, Japan, and South Korea, they're, like, right there watching because they thought he's, like, making trouble and shit. But, like, it's kind of, like, the maintenance part of, like, the Karate Kid that still needs to be kicking in there. So, just wanted to share that, Peace out. So, if, like DreamWorks and shit and any of those, like, movie places are, like, interested, hit me up, you know what I'm saying?